And joining me right now here on the Mark Moses Show to talk all things UCF football. And trust me, there's much to discuss. I got my main man, Trylko with Sons of UCF, and Eric Lopez with Black and Gold Banneret. I want to start with Navy, but we can't. Let's start with what happened last night with the college football playoff rankings. Trace, we'll start with you, man. Are you stunned today by what happened with the playoff rankings?
Absolutely not. I love the college football playoff ranking. It's always been fair to UCF. I'll tell you what, Night Nation should thank Danny White for his words declaring that national championship because it brand builds for UCF. The benefit of the doubt they might not gotten a couple of years ago, they certainly do. You know, a quality loss to number 25 Louisville in there, as well as wins over Tulane and Cincinnati. And maybe that 11 a.m. start time against Navy when no one was paying attention helps UCF. And, you know, they find themselves in that college football playoff and now needing to win in Tampa and the War in I-4 on Saturday. And, well, they may find themselves right in that AAC Championship game after all.
Eric, you love conspiracy theories. What are your thoughts right now on what happened to UCF last night?
I am taking quite pleasure in this because I've actually defended the committee over the years, and I've had arguments with my good friend over here over the years since we've known each other. He has called the committee a sham.
A cartel. I've referred to them as a cartel. I was mistaken.
As a cartel, and here they are helping out UCF, which I actually agree with. Because if you look at the body of work, UCF should be in the top 20. And I'm happy that this is not going to come down to a bunch of computers and figure all this out because UCF did beat Cincinnati, did beat Tulane in the resume. The committee says they respect UCF's as a team and Gus in the job he's done. I guess they, like I said, maybe they will take Navy aside. But the bottom line is that's why I've always defended them because they do take other things into things. And you mentioned Danny White. Maybe we should be happy that Danny White's not here because I think this committee respects UCF in this current regime, unlike Danny White. If hint Tennessee getting smoked and dropping all the way down to 10 in the playoff rankings behind Alabama, and as a result, if UCF were to win out now, they would play in the Cotton Bowl potentially against Danny White and Tennessee.
I agree with you that this current administration, Terry Mahajer, who's got experience with this playoff committee, and of course Gus Malzahn, but I still go back that if it weren't for UCF making so much noise and working to build that brand, you see UCF on the screen at ESPN now, not those C Florida references. It's really been a lot about brand building, which is something I know, Eric, you've spoken about for years, that it's about brands, and UCF gets a little bit more of the benefit of the doubt than maybe they deserve following the Navy
It's
loss.
no different than in any other form of life. The Mark Moses Show has a brand. That's why we make time to be on this show, Trace, unlike other shows.
It's enhanced the brand.
Right. So wait, okay. Everything we have gone through, and I've been a part of this as well. I've been here since 2016. Like I've been here. I was here for 0-12, so I say we. So do people respect the brand now nationally after what happened last night? Eric, I'll start with you.
Yes, I think they've respected it for the last couple of years, to Trace's point. I think Gus being the head coach helps that. I think Gus has a lot of respect in the sport and in the industry. But yes, I think they have the respect. And Trace is right. College football, and you know this, Mark, you've covered college football. When you first arrive in the scene, people are going to be skeptical. Are you a fluke? Are you this? I think UCF has proven to be consistent to the point where really they've gotten the benefit of the doubt really all season long in the rankings. We're focused on the college football playoff, but we should have gotten hints even on Sunday when UCF was ranked 25th in the AP poll. I would argue they've gotten the benefit of doubt ranking-wise over the last couple of years when maybe they haven't deserved it. But I do think this. I think this team gets a good resume. Louisville, which looked like a horrible loss when we were on after the Louisville game, right? Well, they quietly have been 7-4. So that is a quality loss. Trace can make fun of it. That is a quality loss. Georgia Tech, who when UCF beat looked like the worst team in college football. Let's thank our former UCF assistant, Brent Key, another of Trace's favorites. Brent Key and Georgia Tech just knocked off North Carolina. Guess what? That helps UCF on the resume. a lot of us stars have aligned and really helped UCF from a body of work standpoint.
Do you agree with that, Trace?
Yeah, a lot of things have worked well in UCF's favor, despite UCF wanting to fumble away opportunities. They may yet still fumble away another one or two, perhaps three as the season goes along. You know, if they don't win in Tampa, they don't get to that AAC championship game because they lost to Navy. They have to go on the road now. And then if they are successful in those, then they have that Cotton Bowl bid. So there's still other opportunities for UCF. But I do think it's been positive in brand building. They do get a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. So all those conspiracy theorists out there that thought Mike Oresco, commissioner of the AAC, would control this thing, boy, they were all wrong. And I've never, Eric, you can't cite any evidence. You don't have any audio recordings of me on podcasts through the years citing any conspiratorial evidence.
That's true. Luckily, that's correct. And at least not any of those shows that people listen to anyway.
All right. Here's my question. Who's the big loser in this scenario? Because UCF, I mean, they got to be the big winners. Trace, who's the big loser in all of this?
Coastal Carolina doesn't get any benefit of the doubt, and the other group of 5 conferences. I mean, clearly now with the mix of Tulane, UCF, Cincinnati all in there, the way this will shake out, that it puts the American in prime position for that Cotton Bowl bid. Coastal Carolina not playing Virginia because of that unfortunate and tragic situation. They don't get any benefit of the doubt. So I think they're a loser in this.
Eric, what about you?
Yeah, I think the Sun Belt as a whole, the Mountain West, the MAC, all of you're relevant. The American has separated themselves from those leagues, in part because of Mike Oresco, Trace's good friend, and the TV deal that they've had. Yes, they didn't make as much money as maybe some would like, but look, this Black Friday, Cincinnati Tulane, big game. Guess what? It's going to be on ABC at noon. That has helped the perception of the American to the point where they get the benefit of the doubt, just like the SEC does, Mark. The American is the SEC version of the group of 5. And I think that will continue even with the departures of UCF and Cincinnati, because now Tulane will have some street cred. SMU will still be in the league. They'll add new members. The American has a gap over the Sun Belt and the Mountain West this year. So those leagues can keep playing on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, all they want. But they are way behind the American. Mike Oresco is a big winner in the Doug Gill in the Sun Belt. You're a big loser.
Okay, we're here with Eric Lopez, Trace Trylko. I started my show Monday with this. I had to get it off my chest. That was one of the worst losses by a program with so much on the line last Saturday. It was brutal. Trace, I'll start with you. What was it like seeing in person when they lost 17-14?
Well, at least it was earlier and quick. So at least there was that. Inexplicable. Senior day, a home game, everything on the line, which of course now they've lost not being able to host an American Athletic Conference championship game. The money that would come from that, the exposure, just the goodwill. I mean, they've gotten a reprieve with this college football playoff ranking situation coming into 22, but big fumble. You can look at the execution on the players. You can talk about the game plan. We can get into this quarterback. We still have who knows what's going on at quarterback week to week with this team. But Navy did what Navy does. They controlled the game. They controlled the tempo. UCF, as Eric likes to say, was not efficient. With 2 field goals in the first half. You tell me UCF only gets 1 touchdown at home against Navy? I don't believe it. So credit to Navy, but not UCF's finest hour. One of the worst losses, especially with what was on the line for UCF in their home game history.
All right, I will say this, and I'm going to go to Eric. The play that's so frustrating to me and kind of sums up the whole season, Mikey King goes in. He goes right down the field, scores a touchdown, right? 2-point conversion. Then they do this trickery with John Rice Plumlee, and then he throws for a touchdown. Why isn't this utilized more during the season? That's what I don't get, Eric.
It's a great question. I've been saying all year long they could play both. However, the reason we probably haven't, there's speculation that that Mikey Keene and the staff, they're kind of trying to preserve his year in a red shirt because Mikey Keene's probably not the part of the future at UCF. So you kind of, hey, make sure you stay here because you're our insurance policy, because JRP's our guy. red shirt. If you believe that, then hey, he can't play more than 4 games. He's only played 3 games. That's why he hasn't played in blowouts, for example. Because I do think that both of them playing would actually be better for UCF because they both obviously bring different things at the quarterback position. It reminds me a lot in a lesser version. This is a lesser version, Mark, of Florida's national championship team with Chris Leak and Tim Tebow. They had help. That worked. Urban Meyer figured that out. I think that could have worked here too. But we're in a different age of college football where if guys don't play, they bolt, and you have to kind of, negotiate your thing. So I think that's why we haven't seen that throughout the season. But here's the bottom line. The other issue is Navy. Let's give Navy credit. They did a great job coaching-wise against UCF. Against JRP, they played basically him, daring him to throw the football. I dare you to beat us with the pass. Then they bring in Mikey King. They make the adjustment. They're like, this guy ain't going to run. We're going to blitz you, and we dare you to pick up the blitzes. And UCF could not. Navy, they played under Navy's terms. They weren't efficient. And quite frankly, I think this loss was on the players. They were not passionate. I don't think the leadership was very good. Trace, you were there Monday. Sam Jackson admitted they never even thought about that would have been their last home game. They took it for lightly. Navy was the more aggressor, and hopefully UCF this morning, as when they woke up, saw the rankings. That energy has picked up because they did get a lifeline from the committee.
Trace, what was it like at the press conferences that last couple of days?
Short and to the point on the part of Coach Gus Malzahn. I think we clocked in about 6 minutes on Monday. I think both Sam Jackson and Josh Salazar said, they didn't think this would be their final game of the Bounce House. They thought they'd be hosting that AAC Championship game on December 3, which goes to show you, if you take South Florida lightly on Saturday, I know they're a 1-10 team. I know last game scheduled in the Warren I-4 rivalry, but this is what happens when you do not come prepared for games. You get yourself upset. We see it all across college sports. So UCF did not have the right energy. And how could you not? Senior day at home and a pretty good crowd for 11 a.m. It was announced as a sellout, and, there were some empty seats there. Maybe all the students didn't show up on time, but it was a good atmosphere for a while until UCF's knowledgeable fan base knew what was happening in front of them. The Navy was just pounding away at UCF and draining the clock with those long drives, whether they punted or went for it on 4th down, got it or not got it. And in their case, they got all those 4th downs that they attempted. The energy just wasn't there. But Saturday in Tampa, going to be a very strong UCF crowd. UCF's home away from home.
Here, one more thing on this game. I give credit to Navy's defensive line. They were pushing around the O-line for UCF, and it didn't matter if it was Mikey Keene or Eric Lopez back there. They were getting to the quarterback. They really were. And my thing is, this team has been inconsistent all season long, so I'm taking South Florida seriously because I want both your thoughts. I want both your thoughts. Look, they're a terrible team, but this might be the last game they play UCF for a long time. And nothing would make them happier than beating UCF and denying them a chance at a conference championship. That's all. And look, they couldn't handle Navy. So I don't know what to think on Saturday. Hold
on. We're getting a little. This is where we're getting to the desperation mode here. Hold on. Navy is a respectable program. I think the committee has shown that. I think playing that scheme against Navy is not easy. South Florida has one win against an FBS team, the last couple of years?
Howard.
They're down to Howard. They beat Howard this year, FCS powerhouse, not Dwight Howard. He's up in Taiwan, killing it. They're down to their 3rd-string quarterback. They're down to their interim head coach, who, when I saw his name, I thought he was the former U.S. Open tennis winner, Juan Del Potro. Instead, it's some other name.
This is an obscure reference. Mark Moses show.
Martin Del Potro there. I know. I had to throw my tennis love there in there. My point is, this team is not very good. It might be one of the worst teams in college. If UCF loses to this team, don't even bother coming back. Don't bust back. Trace, stay in Tampa because nobody will be welcome back.
I'm not welcome back.
Yeah. You're covering the game. You better bring a win.
Tainted by a loss too.
You better not. You better not, because as bad as the Navy loss is, that it was significant. I mean, if it wasn't for the playoff committee, you could argue that the Navy loss might have been the most expensive loss in UCF football history, considering what it would have cost them. As it is, it's going to cost them the conference championship. That's expensive enough, but it could have cost them a championship game appearance and a play. But if you lose to USF, that USF team, that would be, I mean, it would be the ugliest it would ever be as far as the fan base. I don't even, it would take, you would need a psychiatrical help to get over it this offseason. It would be a damaging loss.
Trace, your thoughts over those bold statements from Mr. Lopez.
Well, I want to go back to what you said about them being an inconsistent, flawed team. We've seen games with 10, 11 penalties. We've seen a loss at ECU with 4 turnovers. They are what their record shows, right? I mean, they're not a better team than this. I mean, it's arguable whether they're a top 25 program based on some of their flaws. You cannot take any team lightly. This is their bowl game. This is their Super Bowl, and they're going to go for broke on this one. So you could see the trick plays and things. From a talent standpoint, UCF has that talent advantage, but I'd argue they had a talent advantage over ECU and lost, and they have a talent advantage over Navy and lost. So anything can happen. I don't even want to enter it into the universe that this could possibly happen. This would be, you cannot, I don't care how it is. I don't care if they make a 92-yard field goal with time. I don't care.
Wow.
Okay.
2 yards.
There's no explanation for it that would be valid and make, I don't care if they have RJ Harvey throwing passes back there. They should be able to run the ball all over USF. So, whether they keep it a game, I don't care how they get out of there. They got to get out of there with a win to move to 9-3 on the road at the winner of Tulane at Cincinnati, which should be a really good game for hosting in the AAC Championship. Now, whether they win on the road at Tulane or Cincinnati, it's a whole different thing we can discuss next week should they beat USF. But there's no question about it. They got to win it. Now, hot seat, Gus Malzahn, I don't think he gets fired, but these are the sorts of things. I lived in Alabama and covered Alabama Auburn for a while, and one team, it could be 0-11, the other one 11-0, and if that 0-11 beat the 11-0, that made their season. And so no doubt South Florida's thinking that same thing.
Well, to your point, to both of your points, I think what you're both saying is that UCF this year, the issue is they've played to the level of the competition. That's the issue. They really, outside of the Temple game, they've played to the level of the competition, good and bad. And that's the concern. If you're pointing out, hey, how do they blow this out? That playing to the level of USF's level could get you in trouble like they did against Navy.
All right. Are you both going to the game on Saturday?
Well, Trace is going because he goes everywhere. This guy's been to 6 press conferences in a span of 48 hours in 3 different time zones. It's been wild at different sports. So Trace is always there. The only shocking part is that he's actually driving himself to the game instead of somebody driving for him. That's the part I'm shocked about personally.
Was Trace at the FIFA, like when the FIFA president was talking the other day? Was Trace there as well?
Boy, I'd have loved to have gotten a question in with him. Jeez.
But it's a whole other can of worms we don't need. A little bit there. But so no, I will not be there because it's a late kick there. And I am afraid of the negative, if what happens, because if they lose, I wouldn't come back either. Like anybody that goes to this game, if they lose, don't come back because you're going to feel the wrath. If Trace comes here, the first thing he's going to get asked by people that walk by is, Trace, what happened? That's so I'm a little afraid of that, Mark.
Are you ready, Trace, to go to this game then on Saturday?
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I will admit I got wind in my sails because of the CFP ranking. I was a little down at about 7:00 on Tuesday night before they made that announcement. And that's what's good about where UCF is in this, because you get one of the first bracket reveals. You don't have to wait very long in that very bloated 1-hour show that should take about 7 minutes to reveal those brackets. But wind in my sails. Yeah, I am looking forward to it. The rivalry, at least in football, with no further scheduled games, gets tabled. Whether it gets resumed down the line, we'll see. It may exist with other sports. They may try to schedule each other in the other sports, but there is some significance in this. And again, but we said it last week, a lot on the line, playing for a lot here. So which UCF team shows up? The one that struggles, no matter if it is in Tampa, but AAC road games have not been Gus Malzahn's strong suit. So we'll see. I feel pretty confident, but I'd argue I felt pretty confident going into the Navy game as well.
Hey, the positive of the college football committee is they've lessened the talk of the quarterback position over here. So JRP is going to start. I expect JRP
if healthy.
Yeah, sure. Right, healthy. I expect him to run a lot against USF. You look at USF's defensive rankings, by the way. They're literally last in college football or next to last in every defensive significant category. This is a good defense to play to get your offense healthy and fixed, as far as I'm concerned.
Let's end with this. Who's winning Friday, Cincinnati or Tulane? Trace, you're up first.
I think from a UCF fan perspective, you probably like your chances going to Tulane, which was, a raucous UCF crowd there. Night Nation traveled well for that, but Cincinnati's been pretty dominant at home. I would say Cincinnati wins that game. They haven't been, very impressive on offense. Their games have not been overwhelming. They keep teams hanging around, but it's still a Luke Fickell team that still has a lot of talent. And UCF got the win at home in a tighter contest. I don't know that they fare as well against Cincinnati should they take care of business Saturday in Tampa. I'd say just based on their success and their win streak at home in conference action, I'd say Cincinnati wins that.
Eric, your pick.
The tricky part here is we don't know who's going to start at quarterback for Cincinnati. Their starter Bennett injured his knee on the Temple game. Luke Fickell says he's a game-time decision. Do they go with him? Do they go with the backup Prater? Is Tulane perhaps a team of destiny? If you're a UCF fan, you're rooting for Tulane. I think it's much easier to win at Tulane because I think UCF can literally fill up 45-50% of the seats at Tulane. That ain't going to happen at Cincinnati because everybody in New Orleans, if Tulane's hosting the championship game, no one's going to know in New Orleans because they're all going to be paying attention to the SEC championship game between LSU and Georgia. So I think Cincinnati wins, but I think it's a toss-up with the quarterback situation up in the air in that scenario. And I agree with Trace. If you're I would rather play Tulane. Plus, for Trace, it's a lot easier to travel to New Orleans than it is to Cincinnati. I don't know how he's going to get there. Who's going to fly him? I mean, it's going to be a quick turnaround for Trace.
That's the frustration about these sorts of things is unless you just start booking all sorts of airfares and rack those up, you got to wait and see what happens.
Guys, thank you so much for your help all regular season long, and have a very nice Thanksgiving, and hopefully they're going to the championship game next week. Happy Thanksgiving, guys.
Thanks, you, Mark. You as well.